This week's Torah portion marks the turn of events. Jews go from being celebrated under Joseph saving the day to being hated. A familiar story for us throughout all of our years. One day they love us, then they try to kill us. Well, this is what's happening. And Pharaoh creates a decree: all male babies get thrown into the Nile and killed. So, Moses' mom, Yocheved, gives birth to Moses, and she has no choice. She tries to hide him, it doesn't work. And so she hides him basically in a small little ark she places in the Nile. Now, only God can work it out that Moses not only gets saved, but he gets saved and he grows up in Paro's palace. I mean, that's irony if I've ever saw it. But there's an incredible moment that takes place as soon as he gets saved. And in that moment contains one of the great secrets of what makes us us. Paro's daughter is actually going in to bathe at the same moment that the little ark passes by. And she sees the child. And the verse is something so subtly interesting. It says, I'll say it in translation, it says, Vatiftach, and she opens the ark. Vatireu es hayeled, and she sees the young boy. She sees the baby. V'nei hanar bocha, and he's crying. V'tachmolov, and she pities him. V'tomar, and she says, Miyalde ivrim zeh, these must be Jews. And the simple way of learning this verse is, she sees the baby crying, figures out that who would put a baby in a Nile must be a Jew because of the decree. She feels bad. But there's another way of looking at it. There's another approach to this that I heard years ago. And if you look closely into the words, you'll see that the words don't make a lot of sense. Let's go through it a little slower together because it's really powerful. But tiftach, she opens. Listen to the words. I'll translate, but stick with me. V'tireu es hayeled, she sees the yeled. She sees the young little boy. V'nei hanar bocha. And the nar, no, in Hebrew, yeled and nar are not the same thing. Yeled is smaller than a nar. Yeled would be the little boy, and the nar would be the older brother, so to speak. The verse tells over one moment and uses two types of words for the same thing, but they mean different things. Who was in the ark? Was it a yeled or a nar? Was it a little boy or an older boy? Why are there two different people here? So here's the way I understood it. Listen to this. It's so powerful. The daughter of Paro comes down to bathe, and she sees a little ark float by her, and she opens it, vatiftach, and she sees the yeled. She's a little baby. The baby's not crying. The baby's chilling. I mean, like, it's bath time. Moses doesn't know what's going on. You put a baby in a pool, the baby's not thinking, like, how am I going to get picked up? Who's with me? Who's watching me? I don't know. They're on a floaty in a pool. They're happy. Moses doesn't understand that it's like, oh my God, there's a decree, will I ever stop? It's bath time for him. He's laying back. It's probably gorgeous. It's like an Egyptian day. I don't know. It's a beautiful Nile. There's probably a gorgeous sun. And, there's a little baby chilling out in a pool. He's happy as a clam. She sees a baby. And she looks up in her eyes and she sees an older boy. V'nei hanar bocha. Not the yeled, the nar, the older one's crying. Who's that? There's a commentator named the Baal HaTurim and says, that's Aaron. That's Aaron. What happened was, when Moses' mom Yocheved brought Moses to the Nile, Aaron knew the context. And so as he sees his brother flowing by, he can't control himself but cry. And the daughter of Paro looks at one person crying over the plight of another and says, you're crying over somebody else? Yeah, that's a Jew. Because you know what it means to be a Jew? It means that you care. You cry for each other. You feel for each other. We're a family. We may not look the same. We may not act the same. We may not even be happy with each other sometimes. But we know we're family, which is why we always play Jewish geography. I remember one time years ago, hopefully we'll never ever do this ever again, years ago there was a terrorist something that took place in Israel. And the shul, the synagogue that I was going to, was organizing a prayer service. And one random night, the shul packed up in America. Hundreds of people rolled in to pray for the safety of the people in Israel. Happened to be that night I was meeting somebody at a restaurant in my neighborhood, a colleague of mine. So I had to cut the meeting early to go to the service. He says to me, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to there's a service." He said, "For what? It's a holiday?" I go, "No." He goes, "When are you going to a service for at night?" I said, "Well, there's a thing for Israel." He goes, "What?" I said, "We're praying for the safety of the people in Israel." He goes, "What, you're praying for your family in Israel?" I said, "No, just for regular people." He goes, Wait, the people in the synagogue are related to the people in Israel?" I said, "No." He goes, "I don't understand. You're just praying for people in a different country?" I said, "Not a different country. It's Israel." He's like, "Yeah, I don't get it." I'm like, they're our family. He's like, "So you have family?" I'm like, No. It's not my direct family. It's my family. Like, yeah, people in Israel matter to me. I don't have to know their name to feel for them. They're just family." He's like, "I don't get it." I'm like, "Okay, but I don't know how you don't get it. We're a family. We're a tribe. We're a people that have been through a lot. And even if I don't know you, we're family." Sometimes I meet somebody who dedicates their lives to people that they never met in centers and houses and professions. I'm like, "What are you doing? You're dedicating your life. You're moving your family to this place that isn't comfortable for you, for a Jew that you don't even know yet, to walk into your Chabad house or outreach center or synagogue or school." And they're like, "Yeah. Why?" "Because we're family." You see, that's how we get through everything. We could disagree. We can even sometimes beat each other up a little bit, although we shouldn't. But we can never forget that at the end of the day, we got each other's back. No matter how different we look, we're family. And that first moment, right before the salvation began, right before Moses came to the scene, which ultimately led the Jews out of Egypt, there was a moment where somebody on the outside said, "Wait a second. There's a kid in that thing, happy, and there's someone crying for his plight. You cry for somebody else. Miyalde ivrim zeh." That's a Jew. Never forget it. That's who we are. We should never forget it. But at the end of the day, we're a family. We look out for each other. We worry about each other. And even if they're different, and even if we see differences, at the end of the day, those differences pale in comparison to the fact that we're allowed to be different. But we're the same, and that we come from the same stuff. And if we never forget that we're family, maybe that's where the salvation comes.